I can't believe this argument.
The Tennessee thing?
And I ride with Captain a ton, but that argument right there is so caveman and Neanderthalic. I cannot tell you. Because if I say that I couldn't care less that Nebraska canceled the series, or that they've taken it on they played the nice guy forever, like do what's best for you. That means I'm afraid of competition. Doesn't have any. Listen, man, those things don't have anything to do with each other. Don't do the SEC any favors until they're playing the same amount of conference games as you. If you want to play somebody else, play somebody else.
No, but you got to look out for you for now.
But don't play Tennessee.
Yeah, you're going to play somebody in Big 12
It doesn't
or
have
something.
anything to do with how I feel about the competition. That's the – man, see, those are the kinds of things – that's the kind of people – that's what I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, listen, you know, when's the last time there was a Sports Illustrated article? No, it was a cover. A cover. A couple teams on there that were winning in the Big 8, and it was called the Big 2. Nobody cared. Nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody cared. Nobody cared that Michigan and Ohio State didn't play a Power 4 opponent. Nobody cared that Oklahoma backed out of the series during the Big 12 days. Like, Nebraska acquiesce.
Always.
How many games do you want to start on the road when you're trying to bring a program back 4 years in a row before you're like, oh, man, who cares who we play? Go on the road. Yeah, where'd that machismo and that macho BS get you? Nowhere. Not a goddamn place.
Not anytime recently.
So, what are we talking about?
I mean, we act like Iowa hasn't not left the state of Iowa.
And we cried.
In a decade.
We cried over the scheduling.
Yeah.
Since we've been in the Big Ten. Literally.
Oh, man, they don't do us any favors.
Literally cried.
Oh, man, they're killing us on the schedule. Well, if they're going to kill you on the schedule, which, by the way.
But we cancel a series we can't even defend it's criminal. It's criminal. But listen, I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I am going to listen to some constructive arguments other than I'm afraid of competition.
So the only thing I can think of,
okay,
and I think it was with Josh Pate, which was sort of
young Yeshua Pate.
Yeah, he was
goose liver.
Pate.
See,
yeah. I think he was kind of foreshadowing this a little bit, knew it was coming, but we didn't know it yet. Didn't really know what he was talking about. Well, not officially.
Okay.
I don't think the common folk knew that it was coming. But there was a line that I believe it was with Josh that Coach Rule said, hey, we used to have to go out and schedule these non-conference games and give something exciting for the fans, but now when you've got USC and Michigan and Ohio State and Penn State in your conference, it feels like the conference games are those marquee matchups that you didn't get in some other iterations of the conference, right? So why would you know that you could get Oregon and Washington and UCLA and USC and Michigan and Ohio State and Penn State, all pretty marquee programs, by the way, right? And we haven't even gotten to the people that we really hate, like Iowa, Wisconsin, and Minnesota. But I think I just rattled off 12 teams right there.
Where was all this pushback when we were going to Lubbock on a Thursday night for an ESPN game?
Yeah.
Why would we do that?
But when you've got all those teams in your conference.
We're playing Texas Tech. It's mid-90s. Do you know why nobody cares? Because they're winning.
Because they're going to win by 60.
Right?
But you're winning.
But I think it's really easy to forget that, hey, all these teams that would have been non-conference marquee matchups 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, they're just conference games now.
Do you know what really makes me mad?
What's that?
Well, there's lots. Other than the stupid competition argument. But in one vein, this is the same person, okay? This is the duality of just wanting to bitch and moan. Man, we need to be more like Indiana. See how quickly you can turn it around? Look at Coach Cigaretti.
Not bad.
Right?
Yeah.
Google me.
Yeah.
Why can't we be Indiana? See, man, Rule, he's a fraud. See how Cignetti do it? Exactly. Not bad.
Do we want to Google Indiana's non-con?
Listen. In the same vein.
You want me to Google Indiana's non-con?
No, because we talked about their schedule all year. So this is the left side of me talking to these people mad at Nebraska that they can't be Indiana.
Mhm.
And then this is a different day when the clock hits like 6 a.m. Man, I can't believe you're not playing tougher non-cons. The frick, man. You use it to validate Indiana when you want to compare the barometer to Nebraska, but then in the same vein are mad that they're not playing Tennessee because Tennessee – why would you do Tennessee any favors?
Mhm.
Why would you do the SEC any favors?
You shouldn't. There's no reason
and
to.
stop the duality of the argument. Because what's been proven? It doesn't flipping matter.
It does, especially now. Like if you're a 9 or 10 win team in the Big Ten, you're going to have a shot to be in the playoff. That's it. That's the full story. Now, if you're on the 9 side, maybe they start looking at strength of schedule, but you know what's a lot easier makes it a lot easier to get to 10? To not play Tennessee in the non-con.
Again, you want to know one of the things another one of the 6 things that's pissing me off?
What's that?
Who was the guy that 5 years ago, pre-COVID, said, hey, you know what? Like, what's the incentive to schedule with auto bids? Teams are going to not be incentivized to schedule. I hate auto bids. Oh, man, Damon, but the conference strength, man, and all you want to do is get a seat at the table. Okay, but I don't want to I'm the same dude. I don't want to just be entertained. I want to see who's the best.
Sure.
Oh, man, just get a seat at the table. Okay. And what do I always say? To foolishness or whatever, I'm like, I'll play any game that people want to play. Just tell me the rules.
Sure.
Right?
Like, tell me.
I'll adjust.
Give me the landscape.
So now the rules are just get there. Okay. So if that's the desired outcome, right, and it's E plus R equals O, right? Event plus response equals outcome.
Yep.
And the outcome comes first.
Yep.
I.e.,
make the playoff.
Make the playoffs. The only thing that I can control is my response. I have to play the game the way that it's going to be played. Like, what's the argument?
I don't have a good one. I really don't.
Unless you just want to be that person that wants something to complain about, you're going to get your entertainment value. And here's the beauty of it. These people that are talking about home games and not being entertained, you know what's entertaining? Winning.
Yep.
Do you know who is going anyway that isn't always concerned about who you're playing on that home game slate? Season ticket holders. Do you know the people that like to bitch the most? People that don't even go.
That don't spend the money on it.
You're not even going.
Yeah.
So why do you care?
And it's not costing the university anything.
And if you don't want to watch, if it's not in your viewing time slot because there's other competitive games, then go watch them.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah.
We just want, and I'm mad at me for being mad over just being mad.
For letting people get to you.
No. For entertain, yes, kind of. But, like, why are you doing it, though? Like, what's the end game to be bitching about it?
Well, I mean.
And then to be disingenuous.
I think the only.
Like, we don't understand $8 million and an extra home game and revenue. Like, we can't multiply by 6. We can't multiply the $8 million to get the buyout.
Yeah.
Right? We're mad about Valentino's. We're mad about Runza. We're mad about
spent $500,000 to make $8 million. That's basically the equation, right? They spent $500,000 to cancel the series to get $8 million to get the home game back.
Yeah,
that's pretty good math.
Over the course of the season.
Yeah,
not per game.
Yeah,
yeah.
But I mean, over the course of the season, $8 million over 8 home games is $1 million.
Again, if you're about business, which you want your athletic director to be. Right.
It's the only reason Nebraska's in the position it is right now because they've been business savvy.
You have to be thinking dollars and cents. And if you already, it's like digital versus radio. If you already own the inventory, stay in house.
Yeah.
Stay in house. That's how you make the numbers work.
There's only one sort of valid argument that I can come up with. And it's, frankly, I don't think it's a good one, but it's the only one I can even come up with.
What you got?
Is
Show 'em what
And
you got.
you sort of address this is, are you doing the fans a disservice by taking away a marquee game?
No.
That's the only thing I can even come up with.
I think the fans want to do at the end of the day?
Win.
Just ask them. Just ask them.
They just want to win.
Would you like to be Indiana or Nebraska last year?
Indiana.
Okay.
That's it. You know, Indiana played in the non-con last year?
Ask this, because that's too easy.
Yeah.
Right? I would be mad if somebody asked me a well-done question. Just say, are you the same person that would complain about Nebraska starting on the road, having canceled games,
about the way Big Ten schedules,
not getting the advantage of the Big Ten scheduling since you've been in the league? Are you the same person that has compared Ohio State, Iowa, and Wisconsin's scheduling to Nebraska? If you're that same person, I'm not listening.
FIU, Western Illinois, Charlotte.
It's just disingenuous.
FIU, Western Illinois, Charlotte.
And if Nebraska's not good because they're playing powder puffs, it will reveal itself too. At the end of the day, you got to win.
And getting back into the Tennessee-Nebraska series conversation, this feels very much like a February story. Like 6 months from now, does anyone care?
Yeah, I guess my point is why drive that narrative?
Which one? That it's a big deal?
Yeah, like just more fake outrage.
Also, let's not pretend like teams don't cancel these all the time.
Man.
All the time. Let's not pretend like this specific one hasn't been delayed like 3 or 4 times. You know what I mean? Like this is not, I don't know. I don't think it's unusual. This is a very Nebraska in February story. That like there's no football all the time. Like that's how it comes off to me.
It just comes off as real disingenuous is what it comes off as.
Well, I mean, some people don't know how to create content without being mad about something.
And I mean, like, well, I mean, sometimes like people just have to take a look at it. Am I being consistent, or is this just fluid in the moment? I'm talking about from a fan perspective too.
Yeah.
Like we want it every different way. We can't even decide how we really want it. It's just whatever comes up. It's, well, I feel like this because, and it's like, well, wait a minute. In the totality of what all the things that have been bothering you, like where's the consistency in that?
I mean, let's not pretend like back when Nebraska was winning a lot that they had these crazy non-cons
we
all the
said
time.
the same thing about Notre Dame's schedule when we looked at it last year, right?
Oh, they better win out because there's nothing good on that schedule. They still lost one to Northern Illinois and still made the playoff.
I just don't understand.
I
don't. Like, just be for bettering Nebraska.
I understand in the sense that if Nebraska was winning more, this isn't an issue. Like that's the reality, right? If Nebraska was winning more, we're not having this conversation most likely. We don't be like, oh, that's too bad. I was kind of looking forward to going to Knoxville or whatever.
I feel like, you know what I feel like that is, though? I saw a meme or what is it when you have, like, people like use a picture and there's like a cartoon? It's a meme, right?
Yeah, it's a meme.
Okay, so there's this chicken next to the egg in bed.
Okay.
And they're apparently a couple. And the egg is smoking a cigarette.
Okay.
And the chicken looks at the egg and says, guess that debate's over. That's how I felt about this conversation. Winning comes first. What?
It's kind of a funny meme.
I'm funny.
Well, the meme was funny.
It's all in the art of telling the story.
Oh, okay.
It's all in the delivery. At least that's what I heard about the mail before it gets canceled. It's all in the delivery. It's just frustrating.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get that it is not. I mean,
it's not even sound.
No, like the sound of silence.
In no way, shape, or form is it even. It's like this great big old echo chamber.
It is something that I don't even understand what Captain is saying. If Nebraska was winning more than play better teams, question mark?
I think kind of his style. I think he's asking if that's what you're saying. Because you just kind of just said.
My thing is, if Nebraska was winning more, we wouldn't care about this at all.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so maybe that's clarity.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what he's asking. I hope that answers your question. Because I wasn't being sarcastic.
I still don't think you'd care.
Yeah, if Nebraska's winning more, you don't care about this story or the non-con or whatever.
Nope.
Like if Nebraska's 9-10 wins a year, you go, you got to do what you got to do to try and
remember when it was cool to go on the road to Tempe,
wasn't
and the back end of a home and home.
Wasn't that cool?
Yeah, we got our ass kicked.
Wasn't that cool?
So like if that's what's going to happen,
Yeah,
then that's just what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Nobody cared at the time though.
I mean, they cared about the loss.
Sure, after it happened, but
yeah, nobody cared on the front end about going to Tempe.
No.
Yeah.
No. Nobody cared about going to Lubbock on a Thursday night.
Or West Virginia or wherever.
You know?
Or West Virginia was
now
here,
that would be blasphemy.
Yeah.
Why would you go on the road
to start the season
on Thursday night?
Yeah.
Against another power, at that time would have been 5.
Yeah.
Or 6 opponent.
Yeah.
Just sometimes you just do it.
And like Tennessee's good right now. You know,
they're better than Nebraska, but I don't know about.
I mean, they're not great, but they're good. They're a good football program right now. They're probably going to win.
It's better. It's in a better place than Nebraska.
8 to 10 wins, probably somewhere in that neighborhood is where Tennessee's been living lately.
Yeah.
Like that's a team that you don't necessarily, if you're trying to build on the way up, it's the team that you don't necessarily want to have to deal with, especially when you have to go play 9 conference games.
And this is kind of on the heels of. I think Sam just wrote about this. I haven't gotten into the nitty gritty of it yet.
SkyMax says I still hate Jake Plummer.
Yeah, that's one of those things, SkyMax. This isn't revisionist history either.
Yeah.
When we were preparing for that game, like we were told
that he was like that.
We were told that some of the individual pieces, we were told about Poole. We were told about Mitchell Friedman. We were told about Derek Rogers. We were told about Fiore.
Just didn't listen?
I mean, that's kind of, I mean, you don't know the impact until
you see it.
Yeah, until your teeth are loose and
so
you're down a couple of scores.
This is a really strange correlation, but I remember, I think it was Gary Danielson was doing the call of Florida State, Virginia Tech in the 99 into 2000 national championship. And he was telling the story about how Bobby Bowden was having the hardest time convincing his players on Florida State that Virginia Tech was the same quality of athlete and opponent as a Florida, as a Miami, as a Nebraska at that point. Like you can tell them all about Michael Vick that you want, right? You can play the tape and whatever, but sometimes mentally it's hard to be like, oh, Arizona State's like these other teams. Like, was it just you had a hard time believing Arizona State was like Miami or Oklahoma or whoever, right? I mean, guess not Oklahoma at the time, but
I mean, and that year
until you see it and then it's boom.
Yeah, like that talent, the staff proved to be right. I mean, they played for a national championship.
Yeah.
You know, but at that point, it's like you just kind of eye roll. It's like, okay.
Yeah, and at the time, you don't know what Arizona State's going to be. They end up going to the Rose Bowl. Really good team, right? Like that doesn't end up being a bad loss. But at the time, you go, I mean, it's a bad loss because of how it went down, right? But at the time, you go, oh, we beat this team by 70 last year. What just happened?
When OU was trying to reschedule the series, I think this is either 10-11 or 11-12 or maybe both years to push the series back, and it was coming to an end.
10, 11, 12.
We looked at it from like a rivalry standpoint, right? Or was it a quality of competition thing?
With Oklahoma, rivalry.
Because Nebraska took the high road. That was all Oklahoma's doing.
Yeah, they were dictating. And that's what you're talking about with taking it on the chin, right? It's just Nebraska always getting terms dictated to them.
Oh, constantly.
Rather than dictating terms to other people.
Constantly.
Yeah.
Right? It's like we just have a really, really – and I'm just going to defend – right, I'm just defending right now. This is more about – like if the desired outcome is to have Nebraska in a position to just get to the tournament, then what are we talking about?
So
and you can't be mad. They're just playing the game. It would be foolish not to.
Yeah.
They aren't incentivizing you to keep that game on the schedule.
No. especially with a 9-game conference slate.
And dirty little secret, man. Like if somehow the minute that this thing is over, and you get out of the agreement to enlarge the playoffs, expand, and it goes to whatever the number
16, 14,
and you get
16.
4-4, that 2026 is going to matter.
Yeah, 100%.
So I don't know.
I also just kind of sit there and I look at it and I go, okay, so I understand everything you're saying, and then I could also understand the argument, sort of the same argument I made about the spring game last week was, okay,
spring game's a better argument.
If you're going to tell me that Nebraska needs to give up the spring game for a competitive advantage in the fall, then I need to see that in the fall.
Yeah.
Like if you're telling me, hey, we're getting rid of Tennessee.
Okay, but you're also the guy that said, in addition to, so this like and you better win X amount of games.
Yes, and I shouldn't have put a specific number on it, but you better win more.
Yes, and I didn't want to hold you to that, so I just said, win
for sure.
X amount of games.
And
well, this is part of it,
right? And so that's what I'm gonna say. If you're dropping Tennessee, you damn well better beat Akron. You know what I mean? Like that's the other half of the coin. You're dropping Tennessee, you better get the other.
You'd have to beat them anyway,
right?
So,
in order to be in that position.
Like the players that that's different. Like they don't think like that. That's a
fan thing. 100%.
That's a total.
That's a fan thing.
And I'm not disparaging that. I'm just saying I don't make that correlation.
Right. One of the things that I look at is considering Nebraska has struggled some in non-cons against non-Power 5 opponents. I'm saying, okay, if I'm going to drop Tennessee, I damn well better beat Akron.
So what do you think people are more up in arms
I don't know
about
now?
The creativity or whatever they're going to try to do on the 26th, or the fact that Nebraska isn't playing Tennessee anymore?
Well, I think on Twitter it's Tennessee, but I think the rank and file fans going to be disappointed in the spring game thing, because that had become, hey, let's go watch the spring game, and you're there till the third quarter, and then you leave, and you get to see some guys. Some people will stay until the very end so they can watch everybody, but I think the spring game thing is going to probably bother rank and file fans more. The Tennessee thing is more of a social media critique. And again, people who know a lot about scheduling or have followed this stuff for a long time understand that, like, what Nebraska did and why they did it is a better rationale than the majority of the reasons why these games don't happen. So I didn't think that was that big of a deal, just objectively speaking. And simultaneously, I think Nebraska's done so many things over the years for the sport of college football.
That's what I'm saying.
That I would describe as character moves. They don't need to feel bad about this. They don't need to feel guilty about this at all.
So, I mean, Sam, the one place I do kind of correlate Tennessee and the spring game is I think Nebraska is sort of giving other programs cover that want to do the same thing. We saw last week, as soon as Nebraska kind of announced that there wasn't going to be a spring game, you saw USC, you saw Texas, you saw Ohio State.
And they knew that was coming. It's not like the coaches don't talk.
All came out right after and said, hey, we're not having a spring game. I think you're going to start to see these types of things for these programs that have games scheduled out 10 years in advance, which I still don't understand why that's necessary in college football, when in college basketball you can figure out a schedule 3 months before the season starts. But I think do you think you're going to start to see some other major programs like Nebraska start to do sort of the same thing and be like, hey, we really don't need to play these games?
In spring games, yeah.
No, I mean the marquee non-cons.
Well, maybe. I mean, I think it depends on the schools and it depends on the deals they have. I don't think Iowa and Iowa State are necessarily going to stop playing. Although I've heard rumblings that Iowa wouldn't care if Iowa State wanted to stop. I think so. Georgia and Georgia Tech and Florida State. I think there's arguments to be made for keeping national rivalries. Nebraska's kind of stuck, and so they got that Oklahoma series, and I think they should cast it off maybe, but they're not going to do that. They played Oklahoma a lot. They've obviously played them those 2 seasons. Years ago, I think 15 years ago, 17 years ago, they signed a deal for 4 Colorado and 4 Oklahoma games. And that was, it is what it is, but that was not something they needed to do at the time, and they did it, and it felt good to do it back then. But people have sometimes asked me, well, do you think they should add Kansas? I'm like, no, I don't. I think you have to try to add teams like Tennessee, even though they had to cancel that series. I think it's possible.
I just don't understand why we're kicking our own when, like, we let Oklahoma off the hook and we didn't say a peep. But
I know.
Right? Am I misremembering?
Yeah.
When was that 10? What year was that? 11, 12?
When they signed the
Are you
deal?
talking about Oklahoma when Oklahoma stopped playing Nebraska in the Big 12?
Yeah, like that was their doing.
I know. No, Nebraska's been character all the way on a lot of this stuff, and I think it's just the moment, and it's social media, and it's, you know, everybody wanted to go to Neyland Stadium. The newsflash, there weren't going to be many Husker fans in that stadium, and they were going to get about 5,000. It wasn't. A, it's not the easiest place to get to, and B, Tennessee, packs a stadium. So, that would have been a cool experience for me, but I would have been one of the chief beneficiaries of that. But that's not. I mean, again, I talked to Damon about this a couple of weeks ago. At that time, they weren't sure because they still wanted the ball to be in Tennessee's court. So I talked to them about it then, and I think there was a clarity about, hey, this is what we have to do based on the renovation. This is how we feel. People forget, obviously, that Nebraska agreed to keep the second Cincinnati game, which, at this point is going to end up being kind of a Nebraska home game. But, they didn't convince Cincinnati to move it from Indianapolis to Kansas City. I think Cincinnati understood that they could make a heck of a lot more money if they did. I think that the game in Indianapolis would have gotten about 25,000, 30,000 fans, whereas this one will get 80. Like, they will pack it. They will fill it out. It'll be almost all Nebraska fans. Cincinnati will realize it's playing a road game, but Cincinnati will make a lot of money.
Yeah,
millions and millions.
What percentage is Nebraska officially going to concede to Cincinnati?
I think the way that this meted out is, and we'll look into it further, but I think it was Cincinnati's home game, so Cincinnati had to agree to give up the home thing.
Yeah.
But simultaneously, I think they retained more of the financial.
Yeah, so
deal.
you just give them like a couple mil.
Well, I think there's a gate, and then so I think Cincinnati pays Nebraska, but I'd have to look into it more. There's a gate, and I think Cincinnati's going to take a portion of that gate, and obviously the Arrowhead Stadium will as well. So Clark Hunt and the Kansas City Chiefs will take some of that as well because they're willing to stage the event. Not long before the NFL season starts.
They can put that cash in escrow when they have to get Mahomes off that $78 million tag in 26.
Right. So I think the way it is Nebraska plays Cincinnati on a Thursday, and it's entirely possible that the following Thursday the Chiefs will host somebody. They like putting Kansas City on opening night. They have the option of putting the Eagles there and having the Eagles host, I don't know, the Lions or something. Mm-hmm. But my hunch is they will have Kansas City, and they will have Kansas City host the Buffalo Bills. That'll be their opening game. And so Kansas City's going to have to play on a kind of a chewed up field, which, the Chiefs are willing to do to make some money.